Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, let's talk about big growth drivers. Like, what do you reckon are some of the core basic essentials that can really drive growth inside of a business?
Culture, performance in terms of agent performance, agent count, total addressable market, average fee, days on market, auction clearance rate, all your vital statistics. So this is something that we coach in our business. So think about a doctor that does the rounds in a hospital ward. Every day they're checking the vitals. We need to be doing the exact same thing on every listing, with every buyer, with every agent, with every landlord, with every property that we get to touch. It's exactly the same thing.
I'm imagining your new Parramatta office has got like these little beeps next to people say, beep.
That's called the drip.
And then all of a sudden, if it's not going well, so when you actually go and have a look at that, though, it's a great one because, this is one of my favourite sayings. There was one of the most famous bank robbers of all time, and I'm not sure why I get inspiration from true crime, but I do.
Yeah, right.
So one of the greatest bank robbers of all time was a guy named Willie Sutton, and they asked Willie Sutton, they said, "Hey, why do you rob banks?"
Right.
And he says, because that's where all the money is. Right? And so, okay, great. Why do you call past market appraisals? Because that's where all the sellers are.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so this is that. So you would think that Willie Sutton was one of the most successful bank robbers of our times. But in Malcolm Gladwell's new book, The Revenge of the Tipping Point, he says that, did you know that there was a little-known bank robber? Willie Sutton did circa 68 bank robberies in a period of time.
Yeah.
And this other bank robber did 186.
In the same time?
Yep.
Wow.
And so I want to know, how did old mate get so efficient to be able to do so many banks?
Yeah, he obviously had a system, right?
So get this.
What did he do?
He never robbed a bank.
What do you mean?
So what he did is he went to local schools. He took kids out of school. He taught them how to rob a bank. He picked them up at lunchtime.
You're joking.
Sent them into the bank, got them to do the robbery, got them to bring the cash back to the car.
And then drop them off
Gave them some cash and dropped them back to school. And that's a true story. So there was one of our first ever agency principles about recruiting because when you think about it, that's actually really true though, isn't it? So people is one of the most foundational drivers to growth.
Absolutely.
Because really good people make a massive difference to overall momentum.
Yeah, completely agree. We have a saying in our business, we hire for will, not skill, and great people make excellent real estate professionals.
And so outside of that, people need systems.
They do.
So if I'm bringing someone who's from pharma or someone who's from fast-moving consumer goods, or I'm bringing someone from a logistics background or a legal background or maybe a marketing background or maybe a consulting background, and they're now going to become a great real estate agent, then what I've got to do is I've got to teach them systems because their minds will think that way.
Yes.
And then I'm going to say, okay, great. So let's find the thing that works and scale that and do more of that. Here's an example of a system. Every Monday, we review our best buyers. Are there any new buyers that should be added to our buyer hit list that have made an offer, got a copy of a contract, came back for a second look, was bidding at auction, all of those things. And I reckon that there's about 2, maybe 3 that will be added to the buyer hit list for every campaign that you do per month.
Right.
So if you're doing 5 campaigns, there's probably somewhere between 10 to 15 key buyers that will be added to that buyer hit list. And people will naturally drop off because they will buy or they no longer have the appetite to purchase or something will happen. But those 15 that have got to that higher grade are really people that you should be working with.
Yeah.
So one of the growth drivers is your ability to be able to put your hand on, so to speak, the best buyers and the most likely sellers. So you don't have to do 300 calls to actually get a listing or make a sale.
Yes.
But, I ring these 1 or 2 and they'll probably buy that.
Yeah.
And and if they buy that, then I'm going to ring them because I reckon they'll sell that.
Yeah.
And that's people would call it like matchmaking or putting the things together. But the basic idea is that literally people and systems are therefore critical because systems can go to scale. If there's too much thinking, then people actually don't really learn how to be able to do it in a faster, easier and better way. Outside of that is market size. You spoke about TAM or total addressable market. How do you work that out? What is TAM?
So you look at how many properties transact, the gross volume, and you work out what the commission would be on that. And that works out your total addressable market.
Okay, and that's like done over maybe a 10-year average.
Yeah.
And what that takes out is like high years. So
correct.
In some of your markets, which are expanding with large amounts of land,
yes,
there might have been 1,000 blocks of land sold one year.
Correct.
And next year, those sales don't happen.
Correct, because it's a new development.
Because a new development.
Yes.
But what you can add in is that maybe 5% will turn over or 3% will turn over. So there will be extras, an extra 30 transactions, but not 1,000.
Correct.
And this is a really important thing for people to understand. It's not about how many houses there are. It's about how many actually sell on an annualized basis over the course of a 12-month period, right?
Correct. I mean, if you look at Marsden Park, right? So Marsden Park has 10 to 12,000 properties.
Yeah.
There's another 5 to 10,000 coming over the next 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
There's only 400 transactions a year because it's still a new suburb.
Right.
So when I say only, that's obviously a lot of transactions. But what I'm getting to is that the total addressable market gives you the best insight. I mean, here's another insight. Castle Hill as a suburb is a $20.2 million GCI suburb.
Wow.
So imagine when you've got a total addressable market that spits out $20 million in GCI as an opportunity, right?
So that's a big conversation. I think that like where the lesson is that, you know, is your market growing? And I just remember this, like, why did I choose Melbourne and Sydney to be primary markets for me as a trainer? Because it has the largest volume of auctions in Australia.
Yes.
And then my next markets after that is then Brisbane, then Gold Coast, and then Adelaide. And then actually I go to New Zealand.
Not Perth.
Yeah, now, Perth is a beautiful market, and I do like going there, but New Zealand's much more accessible.
Yes.
And there's also 5 million people there.
That's right.
And also, too, I can do North Auckland, South Auckland, Central Auckland all in 3 days without hitting any competing firms. And so from that point of view, it's really good for the client on IP. And then we then do Dubai, and then we then do... So what I'm trying to get you to think about those is that market size needs to be big enough for your aspirations.
Absolutely.
And you never want to be in a position that you've got to have 150% market share to hit your goals.
Yeah, I think the other thing with that is as well, and we're going through this right now because there's new market opportunities for us to go and look at another office, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's very appealing because you know we've got a formula, it's been successful, but then when you actually scratch the surface and you look at what we're currently doing, and we've got a really good business, we want to make it a really great business, we need to double our market share in our key markets before we go and open up another office.
And this is about greater depth and breadth.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Correct. Spot on. It's exactly the same with an agent. You don't want to go wide, you want to go deep and wide, right, in everything that we do. And I think this is really important.
It's interesting. I think that Jeannie Romney, who was the former CEO of IBM, said that, you know, you got to be a T-shaped individual where you got to know a lot, but then you got to be able to go deep on the thing that really matters.
Absolutely.
And so this is interesting because then, like, average fee is a big driver, right? Like there's no one who's going to give yourself like a greater pay rise than you can give yourself in residential real estate.
Joshy, we went through our FY24 review.
Yeah.
Here's this for a statistic. If we increased our fee by 0.12, that's it. It's negligible. It's a rounding error, right? We would increase our GCI by $3 million.
Wow.
If we just did one thing, forget recruiting 10 agents that do $300,000, forget doing anything else. All we had to do was ask for just a little bit more and be able to provide value, and that would add $3 million, which in our case would be, 8%, not 6 or 7% growth to our business, which is phenomenal, right?
You know, the interesting thing is a lot of people, they want to blame the competitor, they want to blame the competitive nature of the market, but I actually say, hey, look, show me how you present your fee. And people fall to wall pretty quickly, and I'm like, well, hang on a second, like, do you present it in 2 options? Do you add 2 decimal points? So there's a basic rounding error, and I'll keep this at a normal fee. Let's say, for example, my fee's 2%.
Yeah.
The next number you think of is 1.5.
Yeah.
Hey, Con, my fee's 2.13%.
Yeah.
The next figure you think of is 2.
Correct.
Hey, Con, I've got 2 fee options. I've got 2.13, which is our basic fee.
Yeah.
Or you can have our basic plus, which is 1.91% plus 10 cents for every dollar above the reserve. Now, that happens to be our most popular. Which one would you like to go with?
Yep.
So now there's actually choice, then people can actually go and do that. So I've got a fantastic young guy that I'm coaching down in Melbourne, and he's got a 1-pager about his fee structure.
Oh, right.
And it actually just says, okay, great, here are my 2 fees, and he's got it clearly written out. And then the next thing underneath that is he's got the 3 reasons why people go with him.
Right.
I'm like, it's exceptional.
Yeah, it's
because
great.
he's really coachable and he's really willing to learn. How is volume connected to days on market and opens and all of those things.
Really important, particularly right now in Sydney, where we've seen, it shifted from a seller's market to a balanced market to more of a buyer's market, more stock on the market. I think volume in terms of how many people are coming through your home, critically important, obviously, for deal flow and transactions and vendor management and buyer management. Volume in your marketplace as an organisation, can you actually achieve the market share and the growth that you actually want to achieve? But I think volume is something that we don't really measure that well.
So let's have a look at your greatest throughput limiter as an individual agent is the number of opens you can do on a Saturday.
Yes.
Now, let's assume it's 6 or 7.
Yep.
Call it 6 for the exercise. So you're now standing at the same 6 homes for 3 weekends, or you're standing at the same 6 homes for 6 weekends.
Yes.
Now, if you can stand at them for 3 weekends and then load up and bring another 6 to market,
yes,
then you can actually double your throughput because you're able to keep your days on market under 21 days as opposed to 42.
Yeah.
So this is why sales methodology, marketing, all of those things are a really important conversation, because you got to understand where the through point is. Like that threshold is the limitation.
Yep.
And the only way to change that limitation is to reduce days on market or find a way to do more opens. I had one guy the other day, he says, look, I do a lot of apartments in the same area, so I only do 20-minute opens now.
Yeah.
And I have 5 minutes between them.
Yeah.
And he goes, literally, you wouldn't believe it. I've actually been able to put in an extra, 3 or 4 open for inspections. I can now do 10 or 11 open for inspections on a Saturday, and I'm still selling them in under 21 days. And so he'd actually really learn a formula for his area to make that work. Now, that's an interesting path, because when you think about a big growth driver, sometimes you've got to have a big heart. Like and you hear people talk about, Con's got a big engine. And when you think about that, what that's about is that there's an old school saying by Adol Gwandi. He goes, you're young to the degree that literally your ambitions are greater than your memories.
Yes.
How important is it to be ambitious for the big growth drivers to work?
Yeah, it's absolutely important, but it's got to be the right set of ambitions, and it's got to be directed in the right channels. Because ambition is one thing. It can be all-consuming. You can become obsessed at the cost of your business, your relationships, yourself, right? So for me, the thing that drives us is how good can we be? And one question that we always ask ourselves is, are we good enough to be better? So even when we did 130 auctions, this year, I should say, for Super Saturday, that's awesome. No one's ever done that in this country. But are we good enough to be better? What can we learn from that? What's next? How do we strive for, not to kind of to break a record, but how can we strive to be better than what we were yesterday? So I look at ambition in that way. Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
One of the best questions, and it's really good for people to get primary focus, do you get paid on time or do you get paid on result?
I had this 2 weeks ago with a client. It was a $40 million listing, very, very abnormal in our market. And he said, what's your fee? And I said 2% plus GST. And he said, he goes, my maths isn't that good, but that's $800,000. I said, yeah, it is. I said, look, the alternative, what we can do, the beauty about that is you don't have to pay us until we present you an offer that you're willing to accept. Or I can just bill you on my normal hourly rate, and then we can, see how that goes. He goes, you know what, let's stick with the first one.
So it's an interesting conversation. And I think that, you've got that whole idea that this too shall pass. How important is it for people that, because you can have ambition, but then the market can hit you really hard. And we're seeing that quite a bit in Victoria at the moment.
Yeah.
How important is it for people to be able to, stay steady, through those conditions?
Yeah, there's a really good saying that I always revert back to when I'm going through choppy waters, personally or professionally. Smooth seas never made good sailors. So for me, this is all about the journey, not what I'm going through right now. So I always look at it and I go, you know what? These too shall pass. And where's the lesson out of it? I know it sounds very philosophical and very holistic.
It's deep for you.
Yeah, it is very deep for me. But, but the reality is that, there is a lesson behind everything, whether it's good or bad. And I think for us is that we've got to learn how to let things go to be able to grow.
Something that's changing your view.
So, Con, did you know that under the new iOS 18.1 that's just come out, that you're in a position that you're on a phone call, in the top left-hand corner, there's a button that you can click when you're on the call, which announces to the other caller that the call is about to be recorded. It then records the call and does a live transcript.
No,
until you click the button or you end the call.
So hang on. So if I call Joshy and I go, Joshy,
Yeah.
I'm about to walk into a listing appointment.
Yeah.
I'm up against a market leader.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through some dialogue? And
Yeah.
you go, yes, I can click this button
Yeah.
that says we're now recording this call.
And so it announces to me that you're about to record it.
So I've now got it in my library.
Yeah, and so then I literally say, hey, Con, say X, Y, and Z. And you
Yep.
go, yeah, okay, great. Then you literally press the button to turn it off, and it comes up in your notes with the audio and also, too, with the text. How good's that?
Mind blown.
For training,
Amazing.
for role-playing.
Amazing.
Let's role-play your open home call back. There's the audio. Here's the text. How would we clean that up?
That's incredible.
Phenomenal, huh?
Wow.